Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Did I say good morning to you? Good morning, everyone. Woo, it is 9 a.m. on the East Coast. Welcome to this special edition of COVID Conversations. I'm so happy to be with you this morning after screaming at my TV last night. I was screaming, yes, I was. I was screaming long and hard and at issues of race, but that's a whole nother thing. So I'm just excited because this morning we're gonna do play by play. We're gonna figure out all that happened last night in this debate, this last and final debate with former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald John Trump. As you know, we are moving into November 3rd closely. What is this, 11 days? 11 or 12, I don't even know. I can't even keep count, but I know we're close. And if you look at the polls right now, Joe Biden is leading. Good morning, cousin Melba. Melba's restaurant in Harlem, USA. My dear cousin, good morning. I wish you could send me some food this morning from New York. I don't want to cook. I'm tired. But let's go to the polls this morning. And see what it looks like so far as we wait for Mayor Pete to come on. And I'm sitting here waiting and waiting. So let me tell you the poll I'm going to, realclearpolitics.com, Real Clear Politics. And they have, for president, the RCP national average, Joe Biden is beating Donald John Trump by 7.9 points at 50.7% versus 42.8%. So I am just watching the polls and seeing. So what did you think last night? I see a lot of hearts. Okay. What did you guys think last night about the debate? I think it was very interesting. And I'm glad they didn't holler. The president was toned down. And it was interesting to me, to be quite frank with you. Issues of COVID. Oh my God, the responses. Economics, immigration, fracking, race, China, all that. And they were talking about each other's families. Well, I don't know if they were talking, but the president was. And here we go again. But, one thing we have to remember, politics is personal. People have to feel like they're talked to. People have to feel like they are part of the equation. And look who rang my bell. And I'm here with, hello, Mayor P.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I just saw you on CNN. Yes, you did well.
Early mornings for me. Thank you.
I know. How long did you stay up after the debate last night?
Not too late. It was obviously different than the first debate, so still a lot to think about, but not quite as horrifying. So I felt like I could go to bed and get ready for the morning.
Yeah, I still screamed last night, and it was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot to take in. And my question is, who really benefits from this? Because, we already have 41 million people
Right.
who've already cast their votes. So who really benefits from last night?
So I think it was a win for Joe Biden, and I don't just mean that I'm rooting for my candidate and I feel like he won the debate, although I am, and I believe he did. But also, if you think about what Donald Trump had to achieve last night, he had to do something that would fundamentally change the race, because the
Mm-hmm.
race is, characterized by a lot of people walking away from him. You got Democrats energized, you got Republicans changing their minds and wanting to back Joe Biden. So for this to be a win, the president would have had to really just profoundly change the trajectory of the race. And he didn't do that. It was a different tempo, it was a different style, but it was the same thing. It was the same story. Everything's just fine, we're turning the corner, don't worry about COVID, economy's great. And I just don't think that's resonating with people.
So, Mayor Pete, is it about those in the battleground states of Texas and Ohio that Donald Trump seems to be winning in? Is it about those independents who still are on the fence? Who did Joe Biden speak to last night?
Well, there were so many moments where he just looked square into the camera and I think looked right at the American people and said, at your kitchen table, in your family, in your lives, I know what's going on, and here's what I'm going to do about it. And I think that was a message really for everybody, but one that's especially going to resonate, around here in the Midwest, where people just want to know, what does this mean for me, right? How's my life going to be different? How's it going to get better or worse, depending who the president is? And, we've got to keep our folks motivated, but we've also got to recognize that there are a lot of people who, voted Republican their whole lives, because that's just what you do in their family and their community. But this time around, they're thinking, I don't think I can vote Republican this time. So he's got to make sure he's reaching out to them too. And I think he is.
So I guess we'll call Republicans who are voting for Joe Biden Republicans now. But also I look at it, from the standpoint as President Trump wanted to bring in, evoke the name of Abraham Lincoln. I look at Abraham Lincoln unifying in a team of rivals, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. A team, unification in a team. And I want to give props to my colleague, Kristen Welker, who kept it together. Yeah. She, out of all of these debates, it's like we could breathe. It was a thank God. It was clear. We could understand.
That's true.
So Mayor Pete, let's start with the first question. The coronavirus, the next phase. Kristen asked about the next phase. How would both of you deal with it? And Joe Biden said something so poignant. He said 220,000 deaths. Anyone responsible for that many deaths should not be president.
Right.
And then President Trump came back, and when Joe Biden, he says he wants rapid testing, something President Trump does not want. And he wants to find ways to open the economy, find ways with schools, et cetera, et cetera. President Trump went to the issue of Operation Warp Speed, having in a few weeks,
it's always a few weeks, isn't it? He's
right.
In just a few weeks.
Right, a few weeks, having the military disperse vaccines. Now, during these trials, I've seen Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and some other companies have issues with their testing, their trials. Right. So the president, and we're giving you fact, guys. We're fact checking as we're talking. But the president wants, quote unquote, Operation Warp Speed with the military to disperse vaccines that are not even approved as of yet. What do you think about both answers to this important question?
Well, I think, Joe Biden spoke truth. He talked about the numbers. First of all, the fact that almost 250,000 Americans, and perhaps many more, have lost their lives. And that happened on this president's watch. This is one of the 5 worst mass casualty events in U.S. history. And the president says we're doing fine. And let's be clear, no other developed country is seeing anything close to the rate of the loss of life that we have. The president seemed to be living in a fantasy world. He's saying we're turning the corner and it will go away. We heard those words again last night, like we've heard them since February. It will go away. Well, guess what? It's not that simple. It takes work. And these vaccines can't come fast enough. And I'm glad that there are companies and scientists partnering to make sure that happens. As that happens, they need to be able to do their work free from political interference. And there needs to be some competence in actually getting those vaccines out, saying like, he sounded like the logistics were going to come down to some guy. He was like, there's this general, and he's going to take care of it. And sometimes it's almost childlike, the way the president seems to think these things get fixed or solved, when the reality is it's going to take massive effort. And above all, it's going to take cooperation. And cooperation is not this president's strong suit. So, if people go on believing this, it's around the corner, we're almost done. He's been saying that since before Easter. It's just not good enough. And it's one of the reasons I think he's falling behind.
And Joe Biden pointed that out. And this is fact. Joe Biden said, this president said the coronavirus will be gone by Easter. That is a fact. And look at where we are today, expecting hundreds of thousands of more cases as we're hitting the winter months. And let's go to another big one, immigration. And these children who are separated from their parents, over 500 and some children don't know where mommy and daddy are because of the president's immigration policy. What do you think? Where do you think both sides landed on this?
Yeah. I thought that exchange was one of the most important of the night, because, you could see that Joe Biden was upset about what has been done to these children and to their parents and to their families. He understands the moral outrage that is at the core of this issue. And you just didn't see any of that from the president. He was trying to deflect. He was trying to make it sound like it was Joe Biden's fault
He was
somehow.
deflecting on the cages. Who built the cages? Who built the cages?
Right. And saying nothing about family separation, which was a policy. Let's be very clear. This is a documented fact. This is a policy he introduced, taking children out of the arms of their parents. Now, you also saw something else that I thought was remarkable, because we don't see it much from politicians, which is Joe Biden said that not everything was perfect before. There were issues with immigration policy in the last administration. And he owned up to that, and at the same time drew a very clear line that family separation was a Donald Trump policy. It is wrong, and it's unacceptable.
Guys, I want you to go run tell that. We got Mayor Pete for a few minutes. Go run tell everyone to jump on this IG Live, because we are breaking it down in only the real way, the only way that Mayor Pete and April know how to do. And what really boggled my mind last night, President Trump, who's been president for almost 4 years, he ran a campaign for about 2 years, and he's going to call Joe Biden a politician. So what are you? You still a businessman who just happens to be president? I didn't understand that. He tried to say that he's not a politician.
Yeah, look, part of being a politician is you're supposed to say you're not a politician. Just like part of how you get ahead in the political establishment is to run around saying you're anti-establishment. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things people do on television. But, you know, what you had was two people who are obviously in politics because they're running for president.
147 years, according to the president.
Yeah, and let's be clear. Joe Biden's a lifelong public servant, and I don't think he runs away from that. But what could be more politician-like than standing up there as this president did, I mean, in the negative sense, than doing what this president did, which is just deflecting, dodging, lying. And it was also interesting when the vice president, looked the American people in the eye to talk about what was going on at the kitchen tables. Yeah. And the president attacked him for doing that, which I think is the sort of move that only occurs to a guy like Donald Trump, who has no idea what it's like to sit. I don't know if he's ever sat at a kitchen table, but I know that he's not sat at a kitchen table trying to figure out how to make sure that the mortgage payment and the student loans and what's coming in through the door add up.
And it was a stark contrast as Joe Biden, like he did in the first debate, he talked to the American public. And I watched the president, and that's what I do as a White House correspondent. You watch the president's body language. You watch everything about the president. He seemed very angry every time Joe Biden went to the American public and talked straight to the people. That's something the president could have easily done. He just kept. Yeah. I mean,
what did you make of his? You've been in that briefing room. You know this president. You've definitely spent more time in a room with him than I've never been in a room with him. What did you make of the way he was just kind of making faces, and what do you think was going through his mind?
He was very, he was more composed than I thought that he typically would be, but he realized he made such a mistake from the first debate. So he changed his tactics. But you would think, understanding that the stakes are still so high, that he would have picked up Joe Biden's the way he reached out to the American public. Joe Biden, being a politician for 47 years, understands that this is about people, not party. It's about people, humanity. Trump failed to. Once again, it makes it seem like he's very insular. It's all about him versus the people that he's serving. Power means service. So that's just me. 23 years. I don't mean anything. So 23 years I've been in that space. But that's the way I take it. Watching presidents, good, bad, and indifferent. And I noticed he never went straight to the American public. It was always an attack on Joe's son, or what have you. And I'm glad Kristen kept it on track. And let's talk about an issue that's in the news this morning after last night, fracking. Fracking is about extracting oil from rock. Okay, everyone. This affects states like Texas and Pennsylvania. So why is there such a debate on Joe Biden's faux pas on his record, or not faux pas? Maybe he forgot or whatever, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe he tried to change it. We don't know. But at the end of the day, there was a mistake. But it's about renewable energy, and it does matter to people in those states that have to deal with this. Talk to me about what that
Yeah.
faux pas and now moving
Yeah.
forward?
So look, this is a tough issue because energy and fracking in particular generate a lot of jobs. And I think it would be a terrible mistake to look at workers who are in those fields and tell them their jobs don't matter or that they're part of the problem. But let's be clear, that's not what Joe Biden's doing. What he's saying is we're going to have to evolve. We're going to have to grow and we're going to have to develop. And we got to find a way to do it that's going to create jobs, which is exactly what his plan is about, right? It's about making sure we had more jobs than we had before. But he also spoke, I think, a very important truth that's going to resonate with anyone in my generation and anyone in the younger generation. Because anyone who is looking to that future knows, just as a matter of almost obvious fact, that America has to get to a renewable energy future, and we have, in our lifetimes, we have to become a carbon neutral country. If we can't pull that off, then it's going to be so bleak. And this is not some distant, far off flying cars sci-fi kind of future. We're talking about by 2030, like in the next 10 years, we're going to know whether we got some of these steps taken before it was too late, or whether we're already sliding down a slope that can't be reversed, right? And that's a real choice that's before the American people. I wish there was a debate last night between Joe Biden's vision for how to get us beyond all this carbon economy and Donald Trump's vision for how to deal with carbon emissions. If there was the Biden Green Deal and the Trump Green Deal, and we were hearing about which one was better, but that's not what we have. We got Vice President Biden saying, here's how we can take care of the economy and move forward on climate. And we got Donald Trump saying windmills kill birds. It's just, they're not even having the same conversation, and there's zero plan.
And we talk about climate change when the temperature is the wrong temperature for a certain season, or when we have these crazy storms. So climate change is real. Global warming is real. Holes in the ozone are real. And let's go to, we've got a few more minutes, and I want to hit a couple more topics. The sacredness of your vote. We're hearing Iran, Russia, everybody is messing with our elections. And the president could not come up with a real response. He deflected yet again. And Joe Biden said, one thing that he said, anyone interfering in our elections will pay a price. The president didn't even go down that line because we've seen in the last elections, and this is fact, that Russian bots, Russia messed with our democracy. And Biden says this plays with our sovereignty as a nation. So at issue, Mayor Pete, what say you about both sides on this? I mean, I know you're supporting Biden, but
well, I think the president missed a really big opportunity. As a veteran, you always want your president, no matter who, no matter what party, no matter who they are, you want to know that they are credible and clear when it comes to keeping this country safe. And the president missed an opportunity to say, don't mess with our elections. Just like he's not only missed, but I think gone out of his way to avoid opportunities to stand up to Vladimir Putin, who's not the only one interested in messing with our elections, right? We're seeing Iranian activity, possibly Chinese activity. This is a real problem. And they're going to keep doing it as long as they think they can do it without serious consequences. That's the lesson they took out of 2016. We got to make sure they take a different lesson from 2020.
And we have, in getting to China, they brought China. We have a crazy, complicated relationship with China. And we have to figure this one out. Now they are, along with Russia, messing with our elections after the president continues to say China virus. And he blamed China for the virus yet again, instead of coming up with solutions. Guys, we're gaming this out and trying to figure out last night. And I'm so thankful that I've got Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And the last issue I want to touch on before we have to go as you drink your coffee this morning. At issue is race, matters of race. I lost my mind last night. And I lost my mind because this president said he's done more for Black America than any president since Abraham Lincoln. No. Not true. And then he proceeds to look for his Black examples in the audience and says it's too dark. I was very upset last night. And if anyone didn't understand that was racial, go back and look at the tape. Go on my IG. But what do you think about the exchange last night? He blamed Biden for the 94 crime bill. Well, I'm going to say this, many people at the time, and a lot of times politics is at the time. We're very reactionary for at the time. And when you know and get the stats that it does something bad, you change. So in 94, Biden did support the crime bill, but so did, and I'm not excusing it, but so did many other Black people, congressional leaders, Black people across the nation. But now we know that it caused a problem. It wasn't just Biden. So talk to me about the attack on the president, from the president on Biden about the 94 crime bill, and then how Biden told President Trump he was Abraham Lincoln and he didn't understand where that was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thing I kept thinking about was that the president didn't have anything to say about the Black experience, right? I mean, you got Vice President Biden, President Trump, who do not understand, just as I cannot understand, the lived experience of being Black in America. Mm-hmm. So what's especially important, I think, at a moment like that, is to talk about what you've done and what you're going to do. Now, there is this idea out there that, criminal justice is somehow the only part of the Black lived experience, right? And I think Donald Trump went there real quick. Don't get me wrong, criminal justice reform is really important, and there were actually good steps taken. But let's hear a little more about how we're going to beat back white supremacy in this country. This is a president who, at the very last debate, told a white supremacist group to stand by. We want to talk about
stand back and stand by.
Yeah,
he was a general commanding his
troops. Stand by for what? Right? But also, Joe Biden is the nominee because he has earned the trust of Black Americans. Yes. And that's not about being perfect. We know a lot of things about that crime bill that were problematic. At the end of the day, I don't think most serious people believe that Donald Trump cares about the Black experience in America or making lives better for Black people. You look at not just who's supporting Joe Biden, but who Joe Biden supports, who he cares about, what he's going to do. And you've got this president who came to office with help from a wave of racism and knows full well that's part of how we got here.
And David Duke supports him as well. So does the Proud Boys, yes.
Yeah, so ask yourself, why would people like that support you? And of course, we all know why. But there's these smoke and mirrors going up. And the other thing is, he talks about unemployment, which is basically him catching the tail end of the Obama recovery, a foundation laid by America's first Black president, and making it sound like he's personally responsible for the period of low unemployment for Black Americans that happened before the pandemic, but also is doing nothing about wages, which is why so many Black Americans and other Americans are working full-time and living in poverty right now. And that is unacceptable.
So, Mayor Pete, you're absolutely right. The devil is in the details. As President Trump says, he's the least racist person. If indeed he wanted to help with the Black unemployment rate, it's fallen without him doing anything. If he really wanted to bring it on par with white America, if he targeted something, an effort, he would do it. It's still not on par with white America. It's still higher. Even though he says that he's overseen the biggest drop or whatever, he didn't do anything for it. But if he really wanted to help the Black community, and if he really wanted to prove he wasn't a racist, what he should do is work on bridging the wealth gap between Black America and white America. The gap before COVID was said to be 285 years for Black people to catch up financially with white America. Now in COVID, I wonder if it's going to be 1,000 years. And with that said, last night was something. And once again, the polls are showing that Joe Biden is still leading Donald John Trump. You got swing states that Ohio is going for Trump and Texas are going for Trump. But the other ones are pretty much Biden. But at the end of the day, if Joe Biden becomes president, where are you going to go in the administration, Mayor Pete?
It's not for me to say. And what I'll tell you is...
What do you want? What do you want, VA?
I want to help the Biden-Harris administration, and if that's from the inside, I would love to return to public service. And if that's from the outside, I will do that. What I can tell you is that this administration can count on me to do everything in my power to make sure they succeed. And but that's all academic unless we make sure they actually win. I know the polls look good. I know it's exciting to think about what's around the corner. But we got 11 days till the end of this voting season. We've got to make sure we get it together.
And anything can happen in these 11 days. Look at what happened last election cycle. the 11th day before the election, James Comey came out with that information that
right.
hurt Hillary Clinton. So 11 days is a short period of time, but it's a long period of time until after it's all said and done. Mayor Pete, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Because I think you're amazing. I think you're all that. And I'm just so glad that you came on with me. It's been a long time since we've seen each other and talk.
It is. Well, first of all, it's great seeing you. And I've got so much respect for your journalism and your leadership. And, you know, we need journalists now more than ever. I know that everybody can get out there and do their own kind of reporting with their phones, but that makes it that much more important to have journalists helping us sort out fact from fiction, raw information from true knowledge, and I just got so much respect for that. And look, the biggest thing I want to say to voters is just because the numbers look good doesn't mean we can get comfortable here. We've got a lot of work to do, and these 11 days are going to be decisive for history. But I actually envision us looking back on 2020 with pride if we can turn this country around now.
So, and speaking of voting, what does it look like in South Bend? Early, give me the numbers.
So I went in,
everything.
We went in early, stood in line about an hour, so not as long as you're seeing the lines in a lot of places around the country, but a lot of excitement, folks from every walk of life. And every background wanting to be heard. Indiana's not a state that makes it super easy to vote by mail, although some older voters in particular can do it without having to give a reason. Every state's different. That's why iwillvote.com is a great resource, because it's got state by state information. I was in Wisconsin yesterday. They've got different rules than Indiana. It's different than Pennsylvania. And I am hearing about some very long lines in some place, Harris County, Texas, for example, where the county judge is doing a fantastic job, but the governor doesn't want people to be able to vote easily. So we're going to have to really push to make sure everybody gets to exercise that right.
Yeah, as the former First Lady said, have a plan. Have a plan. Take your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a folding chair, and your mask. And even if you got to wear a hazmat suit, go in your hazmat suit, so go vote. Mayor Pete, I thank you so much.
Thank you.
I pray I can talk to you after November 3rd, and we can get this out again.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Mayor Pete. Tell your husband I said hello.
Oh, I sure will. Thank you.
You're good. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mayor Pete. Guys, you heard from Mayor Pete. Post-debate analysis. What did you think? At issue, it's about you. It's not about what Mayor Pete or I said. We can help you understand and decipher. Politics is personal. What did you think about last night? It's what matters. But what I will say is, someone who is 5 generations removed from the last known slave on my mother's side of the family, Joseph Dollar Brown, who was sold on the auction block in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I would be remiss if I did not tell you, you must exercise your God-given right, not your man-given right, but your God-given right to have someone represent you who you want, who represents the ideas that you espouse. I need you to get to the polls and vote. You still got time. Like Mayor Pete said, it's not a blanket kind of set of rules across the nation. Each state has something different, but I need you to find out, if you have not voted yet, find out what your state does. I need you to get your ballot. If you already have your ballot and it's just sitting there, take it to the ballot box, not the post office, because we're winding down 11 days. Take it to that ballot box, that official ballot box. Drop it in, and then make sure you get an email or what have you from your Board of Election Supervisors that it's been counted. If you have to stand in the line, be safe. Wear your mask. Wear some gloves. Take breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and if you need to, take that folding chair. Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to run for president in 1972, said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't have a seat at the table in the voting line, if you don't have a seat for the voting line, bring your folding chair. So take your folding chair. Just make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Make sure it's counted. I'm telling everyone to track your vote. You know, in my house, everyone did an early vote, and we tracked it. So I need you guys to track your vote to make sure it's counted. That's the issue. A Democratic pollster, Cornell Belcher from Brilliant Corner, said the only way Joe Biden will win is if every vote counts. There are shenanigans and tactics out there. We need to make sure that every vote is counted, just because the process is so sacred and my vote matters. Kwesi Mfume, Congressman Kwesi Mfume, you would not know his name if indeed he had not won his city council vote in Baltimore City years ago, he won that vote by three votes. Each vote matters. Be well. I will see you next week. Vote, 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 vote. Thank you, Mayor Pete. Last night, Kristen Welker, you did the dang thing. I'm so proud of her. And I'm so proud of all of you because you are involved in the process of being we the people who are still forming a more perfect union in the midst of these growing pains. Peace. Vote. Bye, guys. COVID Conversations. April Ryan, over and out. Bye.